Good day everybody, it's Angelo from Daily Vitamoves, and in today's video I'm going to help you practice a very valuable movement called the hip hinge. And some of you may already be familiar with this movement. It's a very important part of doing a squat or deadlift movement, but also in our everyday lives, just opening the fridge and getting that thing from the bottom drawer or the bottom cupboard in our kitchen, or picking our kids up, or getting our shoes and socks on. The other day I had a client who hurt his back putting on his pants. So hopefully by practicing this hip hinge movement will help you be more prepared to avoid pain and injury and compromising your low back. So let me demonstrate what a hip hinge is first before we get to the movements. So basically when we pick something up from the ground or bend over at the hips to pick something up, we want to try to keep our spine in a neutral position, and sort of the fulcrum or the bending point is really at our hip joint, okay? Rather than me sort of rounding my back to pick something up, and then when I come up, this is where I really risk injuring my low back, because these little muscles along the spine is now doing the work to come back up or lift that object from the ground. So rather than expose my back to that risk, we want to practice this hip hinge so then we can more readily keep our spine in a neutral position, bend at our hip joints, let our legs do the work when we come back up from bending over. Alright, so for this first part we're going to be on the ground on our hands and knees in this quadruped position. And the movement that we're going to do here, there's a couple of them. One is shifting our weight back, coming back forward. The other one is we're going to come back and then come to kneeling or sitting down on our heels. Okay, so what we want to keep in mind here as we do this first part is just trying to keep the spine in a neutral position. So the reason we're here is because this unloads the spine, and so we can have a more simpler movement with less things to think about. Okay, we're just going to focus on keeping the top of our head and our tailbone sort of in a straight line all the way throughout our spine. So you don't want your head to be drooping down like this. You don't want your back to be drooping. You don't want it to be rounded. Okay, so just sort of as best as you can find where that straight line is, and then you're going to maintain that. So your whole focus is just going to try to maintain that position as you shift your weights back. After you shift back, and then as you come back forward, back onto equal weight hands and knees. Okay, shifting back, coming forward. You'll notice that as you come back, some of you, your back may want to round like this. Okay, so this is a very easy way to concentrate on keeping that neutral. And then come back, you'll notice as your knees press into the ground, we're also activating the glutes here, and that's what we want when we come to. Okay, so you're gonna just focus on keeping the spine in a neutral position as you shift your weight back. If you get that down, okay, you can move on to coming back and then sort of bringing yourself up into a sitting on your heels position. Okay, so you're going to feel muscles around your trunk contracting as you do that. So practice that enough to where you can remember that sensation, and then we'll move up to standing. Okay, so now we're back up standing. If you remember this neutral position now, if you were to stand tall, as relaxed as you can, okay, this is the position we want to maintain as we bend forward. Okay, so take a moment to just stand. Pretend there's a string on the top of your head pulling you skyward, and then just try to balance there as effortlessly as possible. You'll notice your trunk muscles here in the front and in the back, maybe your glutes are contracting a little bit. Okay, we want that, okay? So that's an action of stability to keep this position. okay? Now we just want to maintain that as we take our hands and run them down the front of our legs, okay? The other part of this now, as we're standing, okay, it's not just kind of tilting forward here and still hinging at the hips, okay? That's going to put a lot of the weight on the toes, which we don't necessarily want, because that's again going to start to strain a little bit here in the low back. So we want to try to also focus on keeping our balance onto sort of the back half of our feet even when we do this. Okay, so we want to stand tall, maintain this neutral spine position, hinge at the hips. You notice my hips come back for me to stay balanced, to counterweight the weight of my head going forward. Okay, we can come down to the knees, okay, and then you're going to push your feet into the ground, come back up. Okay, again, you're going to feel your glutes contract when you do that, and that's a good thing. Okay, so come down. If you think you can come down a little lower, okay, let's do that, and then push your feet into the ground, keep your balance, stand tall. Okay, so you can work this to where you try to come down a little bit lower, and then control yourself, control your balance as you come back up. So you notice, you can see my hips, I'm hinging there. That's the only thing that's bending. I'm not bending the back here. You want to pretend the angle or the fulcrum that you're bending from is this in the hip joint. All right, so there we go. I know it's easy to maybe brush off this movement because it seems so simple, and some of you may be thinking, hey, it's not really getting my heart rate going. I don't feel anything stretching. How am I getting stronger through this movement? Well, you can think of it this way, that this is a foundational movement to probably any stretch, any strength exercise that you're doing already. Because what we're doing here is building the skill and the movement pattern to keep our spine in a neutral position as we hinge at the hips. And so not only will this hopefully decrease the probability of low back pain and dysfunction, but also help you perform better in whatever activities that you do. If you found this helpful, please share this with your friends and family. And here's to making moves that nourish your life. We'll see you next week.